Hello and welcome to the final match of Team Canada's campaign against the Netherlands. Amoffett versus Philip, Game 6. And Philip is leading 5-0. Again, doesn't matter. Netherlands have already qualified before this match was even played. So let's have a look and see what we have in the last one here, the very, very last one. So both players, they spend some time thinking about what it is they want to do on the board, and eventually they decide on a sauna silver opening for both of them. There's not much else you can do. Philip mentioned in the chat that he was tempted to go bureaucrat, maybe thinking about doing something with keep points and provinces somewhat quickly, but in the end decides to stick with something a bit more conventional and goes for the sauna and the silver. So what else is there on the board? Well, the big thing that I see is Wild Hunt. Keep points can also come into play, of course. But Wild Hunt probably can outscore the keep points. There's only 15 keep points on the board. You could probably get comparable amount with the Wild Hunts around. So you would like to put yourself in a position where you have more control over the Wild Hunt pile, or maybe you can get more points off of the Wild Hunt pile. I think that's the end game here, and maybe be able to buy a few things along the way. So both of them do go for sauna and silver. Perhaps you could think about transmogrify silver and get sauna on the next shuffle, perhaps. But this is okay. I mean, it works out for A Moffat here. His sauna and silver collides, whereas Phillips does not. Philip and A Moffat now pick up another silver, and is really just stock sauna Avanto stuff here. When the saunas are out and they have four, they go for mining villages, which is the next best thing, especially when your deck is kind of fat. If your deck is kind of thin, maybe you want Skulk at that point. Second mining village for Amorphed. Maybe you wanted Skulk there. Probably mining village is still better at that point. So he's a little bit ahead right now, I think, because his trashing has been a bit quicker than Philip's. Here, Philip goes for a third silver even. So all these silvers and the keep also kind of rules out anything you might want to do with Poorhouse, honestly. 15 points is a lot of points, 2.5 provinces. So Avanto, Sona. But in the end here, actually, I think Philip ends up winning the Sona Avanto split, both Sona and Avanto, 3-2, which is good for him, right? Which is fine. Amorphed trashes one of his mining villages here to be able to pick up a Avanto. In the chat here, Steph was saying Philip should leave the Avanto and go after a Skulk at this point, considering that he has drawn everything. Instead, Philip goes for the Avanto. Draw is not pressured on this board. There are a couple piles that can suffice. Mining Village, Wild Hunt, Royal Carriage. Transmogrify is a great kind of get out of jail free card in case you may stall, or it can help you for some endgame control. But these saunas on the Avanto is obviously nice in the beginning because they help you trash, right? But like I said, you you could let this split slide 3-2 against you. And here aim off it, he goes for the Skulk as he should, I believe, plus buy. And you get a bit of economy into your deck, right? Typical feature of Sauna Avanto builds is that you end up overdrawing a lot very quickly, and then you don't have anything to do with your deck except play a couple silvers, and you wonder, whoa, how did this happen so quickly? So his Skull gives him plus by attacks, and the diluted hex, kind of important here. It will set Philip back at turn, and the goal from the Skulk, third point to picking up the Skulk there, a bit of economy to do something more exciting with. So another Skulk for Amoffett, which I could see, which is fine. He only has the two Sonas and two Avantos, but like I said, there's a plethora of draw on the board and a squire. So the squire, maybe not so much. I understand why I picked up the squire. He wants buy, right? He wants buy, but now he has a lot of stop cards in his deck and he may stall. Buying a Skulk is two stop cards, remember, Skulk itself and the gold. Here, Philip cannot buy action cards because the Skulk hit him pretty bad. So he just goes for a silver, a gold, sorry, and another silver. Treasures are somewhat important because of keep on the board and also just to buy things in general. And now he takes misery, so that's he's been hit with some serious hexes here, some of the better ones anyway. So Amoffett in his position with less Sonas, the less Avantos, should look to go after some stability now. Another feature of Sona Avanto builds is that as you start to put more cards in your deck, they don't quite connect as well as they would have a few turns prior. So he goes for Mining Village, Wild Hunt, and another Squire. I don't know that you need that many buys. Maybe there's something with trashing the Squire to gain a Skulk, which means you get another gold in your deck. Maybe there's something there. War comes out, that doesn't really hurt him off it, honestly. Trashes a Skulk, which is fine for him. The hexes aren't gonna do too much at this point. The worst one probably is the one Philip received right away. The was it deluded? I think it was deluded. Anyway, so he goes here for Royal Carriage, which I like. Which I like. Royal Carriage is very good. Stays on your mat, and like here, he could just put the Royal Carriage down, play Avanto if he doesn't see anything for whatever ungodly reason. Just hit the Royal Carriage and get three more cards out of the Avanto, and surely then you connect. Surely. So a bit of a stall turn here for Amorphet. Going after some more Wild Hunts, some more Squires as well. The Squires, like I said, they'll help Son Avanto connection, and they're not draw cards, they're stop cards anyway. And the plus buy is, you have enough of that. But that's a slight thing here. He should really start thinking about some Royal Carriages. Amorphet, feel like he has enough villages in his deck between all the squires and the mining villages that he put in. So really 10 and 2 buys, 15 and 3 buys, Wild Hunt, Royal Carriage, or maybe Royal Carriage, Wild Hunt or something. And you want to go from there. If you have 4 instead, maybe you would consider Transmogrify. Not a bad card to have sitting on the mat at all. You could, transform your squires into Vagrants or something and get a Skulk or whatever. Well, a Skulk is the only attack that you can't get. I mean, no, there's Bureaucrat, right? But why would you get Bureaucrat over a Skulk? Bureaucrat does not hex. Anyways, so Philip is 3 love on the Royal Carriage front, but 2-0 down on the Wild Hunt count. And, like I said, for both players, I feel like they should be hitting the Royal Carriage and the Wild Hunt pile. Amoffett gains a silver here. I don't feel like I like that because the stall potential just increases with every treasure card you put into your deck. I know keep is there, but you could make up the treasure count a bit later into the piece, I feel. He ended up there with 15 and 2 buys. 3 buys, I'm sure you'd have loved 3 buys, but somehow he didn't get around to 3 buys. So here, even Philip stalls with his, you know, lion's share of the Sona and the Avantos. So stability is an issue here, right? And stability at this stage of the game will lose you the game almost assuredly. If your opponent doesn't stall and you stall just for one turn, gives your opponent a lot of flexibility. Plague does nothing because that curse gets trashed promptly by the Sonas. Here he has a bit more buys, more fight, and goes for a couple Royal Carriages and Wild Hunts, right? So now the game is starting to push down to a 3 pile on Wild Hunts, Royal Carriages, perhaps Estates. We'll have to see how both players navigate this end game here. So Philip is behind on the Wild Hunt thing, and I think that's the biggest issue for him. That is the biggest issue for him here. Amorphe just has a lot of control of when to take points off of the Wild Hunt pile, and he can even promptly trash the estate on the same turn if he draws well, or if he has enough draw in his deck anyway. So I believe what last turn he took 5 points plus an estate off of the Wild Hunt pile. The extra points you're seeing there is from the keep. The keep. So a few hexes come towards a Moffett at this point, but at this stage in the game when your deck is this well oiled and running this well, I don't think any of the hexes hurt you that badly. Misery or twice miserable might be the worst one. Even at this stage, not buying actions is you're fine with that to an extent. You could just pick up more treasure or provinces even. Maybe envious, the one that turns silvers and golds into coppers, could be an issue, but again, that's not that big of a deal, honestly. A couple royal carriages and another skulk here for Philip. So yeah, this is a pretty bad turn for him. For Philip, this is not what you want to see at all, but it will happen sometimes. That's just how these decks are built. There's no scheme or no way to set up your next turn. Transmogrify at some point for either player would have saved Philip here. He could have turned Silver into a mining village or any of the carriages into mining villages, but um, neither player seemed to have found the time to go after a Transmogrify. But it might have been worth it. Might have been worth it. So two estates get trashed from amoffett here. He's just milking the Wild Hunt pile at this time. Very uh, playing the end game very nicely and controlled at this point. So 15 and 4 buys. Um, yeah, maybe you could push the piles down a bit. So Royal Carriage, Wild Hunt, maybe a mining village. And then he would probably have to start thinking about 3 piles on the next turn, depending on what Philip does. Of course, he has the stall turn here, so that makes his decisions a lot easier. Philip here calls a bunch of his royal carriages on the Wild Hunt. I'm not sure why, if he was just doing it for points or to try to get money for a province or what, but I would consider keeping the carriages on the mat for your next turn. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong there. Anyway, aim off it does not stall. Once again, is gonna milk this Wild Hunt pile for all it's worth. I believe McSeenock in the chat points out at some point that maybe aim off it missed a win on this turn. Pile out on the estates and the Wild Hunts or estates and the Royal Carriages. Maybe. Probably it seems like. I haven't checked it clearly. Maybe you all can go back and check and see if you had a win on that turn. But yeah, 18 here, Mining Village, Wild Hunt, these are ahead. I don't think Philip could threaten a 3-pile, although maybe he could, I'm not sure. Maybe Philip could threaten a 3-pile here. He does get a province as well to try and buffer the points lead. That should make it too difficult for Philip, but again, he stalls really, really bad draws for Philip at the end here. Like I said, you stall once, you're probably out of the water. You stall twice, you're definitely out of the water. Unless your opponent stalls twice, of course. So he's just trying to keep afloat here on the keep points, but in the end, he decides to call it a match and resigns. So that match ends 5-1 to the Netherlands. They have already progressed to the quarterfinals. I've put the standings here so you could have a look at how Group D unfolded. I'd like to thank you for watching World Cup coverage here on this channel, and I will see you soon.